Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome on in. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered, SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. Happy Labor Day to you all. It is the first day of September here on this Monday, September the 1st. I am Chris Phillips. He is Kalen DeBoer Thompson, and we are previewing a jam-packed Week 2 slate in the SEC. We have got a ton to get into as we take a look at the upcoming weekend. Also, we're locking in our best bets, some other news and notes to get into as well. As always, we have got a loaded show here on a Monday night. Guys, as always, before we get going, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered, SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. Week 2 is officially upon us, and it's a jam-packed slate. 15 games across the conference, and we're going to hit on each and every single one of them in some capacity. Guys, again, always welcome in. I am Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does, my partner in crime, my co-host, my colleague, one of the hardest working men in showbiz, Kalen DeBoer Thompson, joins the show. Bear, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time, and thank you for doing so here on this Labor Day. Bear, it's true what they say about you, man. You truly never sleep, so I appreciate it.
Listen, we got Bill Belichick, TCU underway. We got Week 2 underway. We got a lot of overreactions to get to. We got a lot of teams that can go ahead and win back some clarity, maybe even some fan bases. We got a lot of players that have the opportunity to kind of set the tone moving into this game. So let's not waste any time, Chris Phillips. Let's get right into it. I'm excited to see what happens in Week 2. From the border war to the battle in Lexington, a revenge game in Week 5 of last year that kept Ole Miss out of the college football playoff, and even some snooze fest that honestly may come down to the wire depending on how things looked in Week 1.
Yeah, certainly. Some teams looking to continue to build momentum, Bear. Some looking to bounce back, obviously, in a big way. On a side note, I'll say this, Bear, once again, and to all those out there, happy Labor Day. Hope you've all enjoyed it, whether you're coming off the water or you were sitting poolside or you just been hanging out, you had the day off, you've had a couple cold brewskis. Funny enough, Bear, because I'm always someone I love to cut up, have a good time, have a lot of fun. We work hard, play hard here at SEC Unfiltered. Labor Day has never been a day for me that I have taken off in any capacity, at least being an entrepreneur and doing this media venture, because I look at it this way, Cole, and I know you're the same way. My friend, we counted down from 100 days to the college football season, and then we finally got it. And I will be damned if I am going to take that Monday after the first weekend of college football totally off and not talk about this sport that we love so much. That's kind of the way I look at it. So again, I'm happy to be here with you. It's time to move into Week 2. We spent last night on Sunday Fun Day reacting to everything, recapping everything, breaking down everything, giving our hot takes, giving our overreactions. But now, Bear, we got a loaded slate. We got a loaded slate here in Week 2. There's a lot to still play for, a lot to be determined here in Week 2. Let's get to the headliners, Bear. Obviously, the games where we've already gotten out some of these previews. And you guys, of course, stay tuned to SEC Unfiltered, all of your previews, predictions, everything. We break down and preview every single game over here. All of them. Doesn't matter which one it is, who you're playing. You're going to get something from us on that ball game. But the headliner of the weekend, Bear, and where the SEC Unfiltered Tour will head for stop number 2 in this season, Norman, Oklahoma, Michigan. Again, guys, our preview for that is out. Bear, within just a couple of hours. We're nearing 2,000 views on that. That one I know is going to have the numbers run up by Oklahoma and Michigan fans alike. And why wouldn't it? It's a massive game with massive implications. And I, for one, cannot wait to get to Norman. It never been in my entire life. Never even been, I believe, to the state of Oklahoma, if I recall correctly. I don't think I've ever passed through. I've only flown over it. As Jason Aldean once said, flyover states. I've only flown over that state, never been in it. But it's a helmet game, Bear. It's a game between two historic programs, but it's a game that's got a lot on the line for both of these. And I can't wait to take it in person, get there, witness this, watch two dynamic players at quarterback. And I feel like this one's going to deliver, man. This is no doubt the game of the weekend in the SEC.
For me, there's a lot of questions with both these teams that very well could be answered for their status in the college football playoff race. I called it all offseason, the Fork Road game. And I think it truly is the Fork Road game on either side. This is the moment to where if you are an Oklahoma fan, you beat up on a great team like Michigan. Because Michigan, at the end of the day, is still a great team. They may not be the elite of the elite in the Big Ten this year, but that doesn't mean that you could take away what they have accomplished and who they bring in. If you win this game, you set yourself up for an opportunity to maybe be undefeated going into Red River. And if you are Michigan, you win this game. And you do it behind the legs and the arms and the consistency of Bryce Underwood. Number one, it proves that you were right to go trust all of the money that came in the NIL funds to bring in a quarterback that would severely be an upgrade. I mean, sincerely be an upgrade over what you had last season. But also, everything that's ahead of you can truly be accomplished. There are very few teams that can march on into a place like Norman, Oklahoma, Memorial Stadium, Saturday night, early in the season, and go up against Brent Venables' defense and live to tell the tale. You have got to be one of the special rosters. That might be Oklahoma. Two things I'm looking for in this game. Number one, Oklahoma. Can your run defense slow down Justice Haynes? Haynes was phenomenal in the week one opener against New Mexico. Over 150 rushing yards, 9+ yards a carry. And surprisingly, one of the few down parts of Oklahoma's defense in this game against Illinois State was the fact that they couldn't really stop the run. They did a good job overall. You know, you look at the numbers and say, well, it was 117 yards allowed. You're right, it was. But when Wenker's right, no, that is not a fake name that you just made up on College Football 25. That is not a hyper. That is a real person's name. Is averaging more yards per play than Torrey Blaylock, than John Mateer, than Xavier Robinson, than Jaden Ott, than Javante Barnes. 7.1 yards a play. You got yourself a problem. This team finished with more rushing yards than Oklahoma. And this is a FCS program, a good FCS program. Not going to take that away from the Redbirds, from the fine state of Illinois. They're going to be great in winning potentially a national title at the lower level. But you're Oklahoma. You should be better than that. Can you slow down Justice Haynes? Can you force Bryce Underwood to beat you through the air? Because it's one thing to say to yourself, Chris, I lost to Oklahoma. I lost to Michigan because of their ground game. If you lose to a freshman quarterback in his second career start, because if he's just better through the air, you're frustrated, but you can tip your cap to it. So can you force Bryce Underwood to beat you through the air? On the opposing side, what are we going to see from John Mateer? This is your moment, dude. This is the opportunity where you get to come on out and show the world you were not just a good G5 quarterback. You were worth every penny. The identity of your offense with Ben Arbuckle is clicking at the right time. You had the struggles at times last season against Power 4 opponents. Well, what do you look like now? Can you be connective? Can you build that rapport against this defensive front? Can you win your one-on-one battles and be able to go ahead and trust your legs to pick up an extra few yards? Can you probably go ahead and build that connectivity with Keontez Lewis or Deion Burks? Or what are we going to get out of the backfield with Jaden Ott in this game? Is he going to be fully healthy? I want to see this quarterback be able to live up to all the billing because he looked impressive. 400 yards of total offense, 4 touchdowns. It's Illinois State. This is a helmet game. It's a pretty damn good helmet game, too. These are two of my favorite iconic logos in college football. Can you show up in the biggest lights? Because I'll tell you what, if you show up in this game, you're going to be able to show up in a lot of games.
The stage is set. There is no question. I feel like I'm excited for the physicality in this one, Bear. I think both lines of scrimmage, both sides. I mean, I think it's going to be an absolute rock fight up front. I'm really curious the vibe of this game from the standpoint of, do we get more of an offensive shootout? Is it a lower scoring defensive contest? Is it kind of a balanced game? I feel like it's going to be kind of somewhere in the middle. Interestingly enough, and we're going to get into our best bets, Bear, Michigan is now a 5.5-point underdog. So the money is coming in on the Wolverines. Just earlier today, a couple hours ago, Oklahoma was a 6.5-point favorite, now just a 5.5-point favorite. So wink, wink. If you liked Oklahoma at 6.5, you should technically love them at 5.5. But the betting public, they are going with the Wolverines. Once again, Bear, I'm so excited to experience Memorial Stadium, experience Norman. It's one of the most passionate fan bases in all of college football. And selfishly, Bear, selfishly for you and I and SEC Unfiltered, I'll just tell you guys this, all you Oklahoma fans tuned in, it's been one of the most engaging fan bases we've had since the inception of SEC Unfiltered. So I am so pumped to be able to go on the road, go to Norman, and give back and hang out with all the great Sooners, man. It's been a long time coming, and it's going to be an absolute blast. And again, I think we're in for one hell of a game. Like you said, Bear, the stage is set. The stage is set for Oklahoma, John Mateer, that defense, Brent Venables, for them to shine and make a bit of a statement, I think, to the college football world on Saturday night. It's going to be a fun one.
I'm not going. I'm very sad that I'm not.
I'm sad you're not going also.
Because I love my Sooner people. I do. I bought in. I mixed the Crimson Kool-Aid last year with Jackson Arnold. I was very high on this team. I was wrong, but at least I went down swinging with them. I stand behind this team. I think this is a 9-win team, maybe even a 10-win team. I like Oklahoma in this game. I made it clear multiple times in the preview. You should go check that out. I just think that I trust this offense a little bit more. Something is brewing special, I think, in Norman this year. And it's largely due to the fact of SEC Unfiltered's coming to your town. So not saying that you can go ahead and thank us, but you win this football game. Just saying. Maybe you can thank Chris Phillips because of who he picked last week, won last week. And you went to their city. Just saying. You never know.
Whatever you do, don't blame us if it backfires.
I'm not taking any responsibility for what happens.
No, we are not taking any responsibility for it. But we want all the credit. It does go well, by the way. Bear, outside of that game, again, I think it's very obvious that is the premier matchup of the weekend in the SEC. What's the game? The other game you're most looking forward to? I think there's a lot of different directions you can go here, right? I mean, we already talked and previewed and predicted Mississippi State, Arizona State. I think Virginia Tech, Vandy is really interesting. The line in that one, Bear, I don't know if you've seen, has moved a ton. Vandy's only a 1.5-point dog in that game now. So, I mean, Vegas is expecting a bit of a coin flip. Obviously, the Hokies looking to bounce back after losing to South Carolina. This game is massive for Brent Pry and his future there in Blacksburg. You've also got Ole Miss, Kentucky. We've got an SEC game this weekend, right? Ole Miss traveling to Lexington, Bear. Again, you and I will preview, we'll predict this game. We'll have that out probably on Tuesday afternoon. But this is one that's super intriguing because, I mean, Bear, you could argue that was the worst loss in the history of Ole Miss football when you think about what it cost them. Like, just think about that. Like, and what that Kentucky team went on to do, which was nothing. They never got back on the bus from Oxford, I don't think, because
they took a detour on I-20 and never found their way back to Lexington. Ever. Never
went back. Those were imposters the rest of the way. You've got the border war as well with Missouri and Kansas and the hatred and the toxicity, and it's been over a decade since the two have played. What's the game you're second most looking forward to outside of Oklahoma, Michigan, the game you're most excited to watch?
I will say the border war is up there, and it probably is number 2, but it's a game that we haven't talked about yet. And it's a game that I think we need to pay a lot more attention to. And I don't care that they're a G5 school. South Florida versus Florida is.
I thought that's where you might go. This
game, Chris Phillips.
Dude, they made one of the splashes of week 1, the way they beat up Boise State. It is so
imperative for South Florida to at least set the tone in this game. They don't need to win. They don't. They need to set the tone in this game. Because think about this for a second. You already got a convincing win over top 25 Boise State. You have 2 more Power 4 games on your schedule, both in the state of Florida, Miami and Florida. Let's say you go 1-1 in that stretch. If you win out, you are the G5 representative. You're going to the college football playoff. You need 1 win, and it guarantees you the spot automatically, the American Conference champion. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get left out. Alex Dolish is a very impressive coach. This is the name outside of John Summerall we need to be talking about as the next Power 4 head coach. Honestly, he needs to be a Power 4 head coach last season for what he was able to do. Byron Brown was phenomenal. The rushing attack, even though you didn't have a breakout star, it is multifaceted. The defense for South Florida came and stepped on up. But we watched as DJ Lagway, this revamped version of the offense, missing some key elements. I mean, Chris, it wasn't a fully healthy Florida offense. Hung 70 almost, over 500 yards of offense against Long Island. So what if that's the version we see against South Florida? Are we going to say that South Florida was an overrated team and certainly Ashton Genty deserved the Heisman Trophy because of what he did for Boise State last year? Or are we saying to ourselves, no, Florida's different. Florida is built like a roster that is meant to be in the college football playoff hunt. They are physical. They can win at the line of scrimmage. They don't make mental mistakes. They put themselves in prime position to attack. And if they do not shoot themselves in the foot, Their opportunity of being a college football playoff team is on the horizon. Their opportunity to play for a spot in Atlanta is very much not in jeopardy. Having a quarterback like DJ Lagway, he's very well in the running for a Heisman Trophy. It is the most underappreciated game in college football this weekend because there are some really good matchups. This is just one that I think is sneaky. I think everything is on the table for both of these rosters, and it's a tone-setting game. You win this one, it sets you up for if you're South Florida to go play against Miami. If you win this one, it sets you up for Florida to go play Miami. So either way, it's a matchup that leads into the Miami game that gives you a bit more confidence and also probably a little bit more bragging rights when it comes to not just recruiting, not just overall success, but in my opinion, a shot at the college football playoff, especially if you're South Florida.
Bear, the Gators are a 17.5-point favorite in that football game. The over-under at 54.5, of course, via our friends over at FanDuel. But I will tell you this, Byron Brown is a hell of a football player. Do not sleep on him. I do agree with you. That one I think is really intriguing. The game I'm most looking forward to outside of Oklahoma, Michigan, I probably will go the border war just because of the emotions and the rivalry and the hatred. And, I mentioned in the preview we did for the game, obviously, if I could be in two places at once this weekend, if I could somehow teleport myself, I would be at that game and Norman, admittedly. Like, I think that'd be a great way to see Como, experience it for the first time. We will redeem ourselves, I promise, Mizzou fans. I'm just going to leave it at that. There will be a trip to Como upcoming this season. But, again, with that being said, I think I'm going to go border war. But there's a lot of intriguing games. I mean, again, I mentioned Ole Miss, Kentucky, SEC game. We have an SEC contest on the docket this weekend. Bear, they're not the most – and I'll say this, too, before I get to my next point. Virginia Tech Vandy, I think is fascinating. I really do. It's a really fun game. I'll be keeping up with that one on my phone while in the stadium at Memorial Stadium in Norman. That one is going to be awesome, though. Can Diego Pavia do it again? You know what I mean? Can he beat up on Virginia Tech again? A game that, again, I think essentially if Vandy's able to win, Brent Pry, you can kind of just count your days, bud, because it's probably coming to an end down there pretty soon if that goes the way of the doors.
What I thought was really interesting is that the wide receivers for Virginia Tech and the offense had a jolt to it for Virginia Tech. They really did. It just came down to Kyron Jones making constant mistakes. Like, that to me is going to be, I think, a good blueprint if you are Clark Lee for studying the tape all week, is keep Jones in the pocket and make sure that when those acrobatic wide receivers dive for the football, you dive lower. Because if you do that, you may take that game away. It is a game that I felt very confident in going into the week. Then I watched on Sunday what happened between Virginia Tech and South Carolina. Even though South Carolina should have won by almost 3 scores, there was a part of me that said there's enough to like about this Virginia Tech squad. If they get hot, they're going to make it a battle against Vandy. They're certainly going to make this an interesting game.
Bear, it's also a fascinating weekend because we got a couple of teams supposedly we thought were going to be at the top of the conference, and very well may be, but they're looking to bounce back in a big way. Texas playing host to San Jose State. That's an 11 a.m. kick there in Austin. As you can imagine, they are a huge favorite in that game, 35.5 points, I believe. That was the last time I checked it. They are favored. And then Bear, Alabama in the nightcap of the weekend for the SEC, 6:45 local time kickoff there in Tuscaloosa as they take on Louisiana Monroe. Once again, here's the thing, Bear, and we're going to get more into the Alabama side, especially because we got some things to discuss when it comes to Kalen DeBoer and some of the things Kane Womack, some others said at the podium today. But here's the thing. For Texas and Alabama, and I think Alabama is more of a severe case, right? Because Texas went on the road and lost to a top 5 team in the country. Alabama, well, complete nightmare scenario that happened down in Tallahassee. But for both, it's an opportunity stepping out, obviously, into non-conference play against lesser competition, most importantly, to just build back some confidence and feel good about something. If you're Alabama, I don't know if you can win by enough, Bear, but it wouldn't hurt to go out there and hang a 50 or a 60 spot against Louisiana Monroe and everybody feel good about themselves and Ryan Williams have a big day. I saw the stat a ton on social media today. People are starting to doubt Ryan Williams. Is he overrated? He hasn't had 100 yards receiving in his last 10 games. The last time he did it was against Georgia last year, the game that we were at. They're starting to doubt him. everybody loves to pile on, and when it rains, it pours, obviously, especially in a situation like this where you looked as poor as you did in week 1. But it's a time for everybody from week 1 to week 2. Okay, we can't go backwards. We can only go forwards. Let's reset. Let's go out. Let's go 1-0 this week. Not to be all coach speak here on the show, but let's go 1-0 this week. Let's go take belt to ass to somebody else. Give us something to feel good about and kind of feel like it's sort of a reset to get us back on the right track. And again, Bear, you know as well as I do, for Texas, a couple weeks down the road, you're not really going to be able to have that feel good or be able to prove yourself, I should say, until you take on Florida in the Swamp. For Alabama, you and I both know you're not really going to have that opportunity to win back people or feel good about yourself or prove yourself until you go to Athens and take on Georgia. But in the meantime, you need to beat up on somebody else, and it obviously starts this weekend in these respective contests for both these schools.
You know what was the difference between Alabama and Texas besides the score? It was the intensity and it was the attitude. Like, I look back at this game for Texas, I don't question their on-field play, their execution, their delivery, their timing, their flying up to the football, their pursuit angles, their overall offseason workouts. Like, I went back and I watched the Alabama game this morning, and what was so frustrating is there were moments where I thought that Alabama's attitude and the overall approach to getting to the line of scrimmage wasn't there. Chris, they looked gassed. Like they looked out of sync and tired and delirious just getting to the line of scrimmage on several drives. Alabama didn't feel that way. Alabama felt like, hey, our quarterback didn't deliver in a game against a top 5 team, against a top 5 defense, fresh off of winning a national title, and the wide receivers weren't able to create separation. But we'll be fine. I don't worry about Texas. Texas is going to hang 60 potentially on San Jose State, and it won't shock me. And the running back room is going to be there, and the offensive line is going to gain its confidence, and the secondary is going to make plays against this Kennedy Motolo unit. And a lot of things could end up going in their favor. Alabama, I need to see the attitude standpoint come back. I need to see we're willing to hit anybody in the mouth. And I'm sorry to Louisiana Monroe, but we're going to close the door, turn off the lights, and just start swinging. So you better get out of our way, because if we're taking our frustrations out on you, it is going to be an old sloppy, back in the day, you made a mistake. And unfortunately, now because of somebody else did it to us, you got to pay the piper. We're just going to take it out on you. That's what you need to see. The other thing is that Brian Williams is overrated, so be it. But here's the bottom line. You have other receivers that can take a step on up in this game. We don't know if Ryan Williams is playing. He's in concussion protocol. He's going to be day-to-day. We don't know what Isaiah Horton's status is for this game. You know what Jeremy Bernard's status is? Heart, determination. Him and Ty Simpson, they showed up on Saturday. They're the only two offensively that I looked at constantly actually feeling like they gave a damn. Who's going to be the other receiver that maybe gets that role? Cole Adams, Rico Scott, Jalen Mbakwe. You switch sides of the football. Could maybe you have a big-time day? I want to see those guys have that role. Because if you push them to be able to have that kind of tenacity and that attitude, that's going to that should light a fire underneath Ryan Williams-Keister, because he is a high-profile name. He should be able to be the big-time receiving threat. He should be able to kind of say, hey, this is my team. I don't want to play second fiddle. Like, I don't want to be the secondary guy. I want to be the go-to. I want to be the reason why our team is winning. And if he doesn't want to have that attitude, okay, so be it. There's the door. Best of luck in your future endeavors. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, but I am saying that that's something that I would love to see Alabama fans, and more importantly, the Alabama locker room act like. Texas, for me, it all comes down to, can you just get home and show us why last week was a game against a team that was good enough to win a national title? It's a completely different narrative of what I'm looking for in this game for Texas than what I'm looking for Alabama. Alabama, it's, do you have that fight? Like, honestly, because my fear, Chris, is that right now Alabama could turn into 2024 Florida State, where you lose a game to an inferior opponent. Yeah, you drop one early on, but then it just continues to fall and crevice, and you just keep slipping and slipping and slipping, and then you're at rock bottom, and the players give up, and they don't care anymore, and they just say, whatever, this season's a wash, so be it. That's not okay for Alabama. Florida State, it's certainly not okay. But for Alabama, the buyout is ridiculous, and it's not going to happen. But there will be boosters that will do everything in their power to try to convince others, let's get the money together. Let's go ahead and figure out what we got to do to get rid of this guy. Because the culture has got to get back to what it was underneath Nick Saban. So just show that you got that fight. Just show that that game last week was truly, it's not who we are. And honestly, for the media standpoint, kind of show to the media that's not who you are. Because you're giving us bulletin board material that we're just throwing out darts and we're hitting every single time. Just boop, yep.
Yeah, the piling on effect certainly is happening. I mean, I don't think Alabama obviously has done themselves any favors. Bear, the Crimson Tide are a 37.5-point favorite in that game against UL Monroe. Texas is a 35.5-point favorite against San Jose State. And I would agree with you. I think you nailed it. You're looking for two different things. I think for Texas, like I said, leaving that game in Columbus, I wasn't going to overreact to that. You played a really, really good football team on the road. Arch Manning's first real test with a retooled offensive line. No, you're not happy. You're not inspired. You're not, you don't love what you saw Saturday from him, but it's understandable, I think, more so to the degree with Alabama. Like you said, a lot of it was a want-to thing. Like for Alabama, Saturday night against ULM, does this team come out with a different mindset, different mentality, attack the opportunity at hand, and like you said, look like they give a damn, and they want to not just go win the football game, but play up to the Alabama standard, take pride in all of the little things? Or do we see it, Bear, and say, it's just kind of a lost cause? Like, you are who you are. This is Kalen DeBoer's Alabama. I don't think we want to believe that, but it's like you can only go off of what's happened on the field.
Yeah.
And what you've seen. You're 6-4 against unranked teams. You're 5-5 in your last 10 games. Like, people aren't just pulling this out of thin air. I mean, you're giving them the bulletin board material, like you said. Texas, just get Arch Manning comfortable. Just get him going, get his confidence up. He shredded teams like this last year. I mean, Bear, low-key, these aren't going to be my best bet, spoiler alert, but I kind of like playing both of them, to be honest, to cover. Like, I think Texas for sure. Texas is going to go out there and put belt to ass. I feel really confident they're going to want to score and score and score and score and get Arch Manning as much confidence, build up as much positive momentum these next 3 games he's got against non-conference competition as much as they can. And then for Alabama, I mean, Bear, like, if the plan isn't to go out there and win by 50, then what are we doing? Like, that's what the mentality should be. If we can go score 100, we need to go score 100. Nothing's going to wash out the taste of what happened in week 1. Nothing's going to really make you feel better. But, hey, you can at least try. And you owe it to your fans in your home opener to go out there and play up to the Alabama standard. And the Alabama standard would be you're going to pulverize this team. It's 35-0 at halftime. Like, that's the type of Alabama that we're used to. I don't know if we get it, but yeah, we're going to find out how much pride they got this early in the season. It's crazy to say that, but we are going to find out for Alabama specifically, like, how much they really care. I think you're right. I don't worry about that with Texas. I just think it's about getting back to business as usual, getting Arch Manning and the offense going. The defense is going to be fine. They might pitch a shutout in this game. So two different sets of circumstances.
I'm sorry, but until Alabama shows me otherwise, I'm not taking the over. I'm not taking the points. I'm not doing anything. And honestly, nobody should. Nobody should until you give me a reason to. Like, it's, and the frustrating part about all this is there's so many fair weather Alabama fans, and yeah, I'm speaking to you out there, and you deserve to hear who you are, that are going to bail on Kalen DeBoer. Let me make something abundantly clear. In today's metrics of college football, the buyout is going to be something that you have to look into. Last season, specifically, 3 Power 4 head coaches were fired. Do you know why they were fired? Well, let's just look at the buyouts. It was Ryan Walters, it was Neil Brown, and it was Mack Brown. Mack Brown's buyout was under $3 million. Neil Brown's buyout was under $10 million. Ryan Walters' buyout was under $10 million. The buyout for Kalen DeBoer is $60 million plus. He's not going anywhere. So suck it up, get over it, but understand that right now your team has got to show you that they can get back to its winning side. Oh, and also for all of you who want to continue to say that he's a crap coach, I do believe in Kalen DeBoer still. I may be wrong in 2 weeks. I may be wrong in a month. I may be wrong on Sunday morning, but I still believe in Kalen DeBoer. The man is 6-0 against Kirby Smart, Brian Kelly, Steve Sarkisian, and Dan Lanning. 4 top 10 coaches. Like, That doesn't happen willy-nilly. It doesn't. But I'm still not picking Alabama until they prove me otherwise. I'm sorry. I'll hammer Louisiana Monroe this week.
I mean, we could spend this entire segment on the Crimson Tide beer, and we won't because there's some other things I want to hit on. But it is just, it's fascinating. It's maddening. It's maddening how good Alabama can look, how good they've looked under Kalen DeBoer in these primetime matchups, in these big-time games. And for some reason, it's like the one thing that, and I get it, the thing that impressed me the most about Nick Saban at Alabama, there was never complacency that set in. They never allowed it. It was always the next thing. They'd win a national title. The joke was, and it wasn't a joke, it was for real, 24 hours later, Nick's in his office recruiting. He never stopped. But it goes against all things that human nature say, that complacency is going to set in when you reach a certain mountaintop or you reach a certain level. So it's the one thing they never did. They never played up and down to the competition. They had one level. Now, granted, they lost some games, but they didn't lose many of them. But they had one speed. They went 100 every week. They brought it every single week. That's the most maddening thing to me, is it's like, how can you go out there and beat the coaches you've beaten and show up in the games you've shown up in and then lay eggs in the other ones? I don't know. We'll probably never know. I don't know. I don't get it.
I can answer that. I can easily answer that. Here's the reason why. In the Nick Saban era, you didn't worry about Nick coming and calling your ass out. You didn't worry about Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian or I'd even go back to say Doug Nussmeier. We could go all the way to Mike Loxley. We can go to the defensive side with Jeremy Pruitt. You never worried about them calling you out. You worried about being held accountable by your teammates, by the leaders in the locker room. Nick Saban never had to worry about the attitude of his players before a game. He never had to worry about what was going to be the expectations internally in the locker room, because of the players that were the leaders in that clubhouse, the ones that truly embraced what was the Crimson Tide mantra and the attitude of, we know that we're good and we don't care how you think of us. We're going to show you that you are our little bitch. That was done by the players. They don't have that right now. So somebody better show up and say, nope, I'm going to be that guy. I don't care if I got to go down swinging. And it could be Ty Simpson and Jeremy Bernard. Right now, they're the favorites for that title. I'm very okay. I am very okay, Chris Phillips, to see Ty Simpson and Jeremy Bernard just call everybody in for a little meeting, turn off the lights, take a baseball bat, and start swinging out their frustrations. Because if they were the only ones that decided to show up on Saturday, that's the type of mentality you need if you want to win the SEC. Those two.
Who's going to put their foot down to stop the bleeding? We will start to find out. Or maybe we won't on Saturday night.
I say maybe we won't.
Maybe we won't. Bear, SEC opener for the league, Ole Miss at Kentucky. You and I are going to predict this game, so we don't have to spend a ton of time here. We'll give our full thoughts there. But it's interesting because of the revenge factor. It's not like let's just call it what it is. It's not like a super headliner SEC game. I don't know how fired up the college football community is for Ole Miss Kentucky, but certainly a lot of storylines you and I will dive into. But it's all going to revolve around, I feel like, what happened last year, right? I don't know. I said all offseason, if there's one game that Ole Miss wins this football season, it's this game at Kentucky. I'm not necessarily trying to spoil my predictions, and we'll do full pick 'em obviously on Thursday. But I mean, Bear, again, if Ole Miss is to win one game this year, it has to be this one, right? I mean, it has to be.
So a part of me thinks, and again, a part of me thinks this, which is honest, this may end up being Georgia Kentucky 2.0. A part of me thinks this. It's the moment that you don't win the game, but it's because Mark Stoops does not drop his you-know-what and go for it on fourth down. That might be it. And honestly, if you're Ole Miss, you'll take it. You get your revenge. You do. But there's a part of me that just says, what if we can start off the year 2-0? What if we can just change the way that people view us? You had your struggles against Toledo. I was wrong. I shouldn't have picked Toledo. But you show up on Saturday. You get a couple of good drives. You slow down this defense. You make Austin Simmons in his first real road test look human. You slow down the wide receiver room. And you make it a bloodbath. You make them beat you on the ground. I don't think that happens because I think that Lane Kiffin has been sitting inside of a cave literally every single Saturday night, contemplating all life decisions on what happened in week 5 of last year. And there are truly going to be some demons that have been let out of this man that he has been festering over and thinking over in his mind. And he's been replaying it time and time again through nightmare scenarios whenever he closes his eyes. And he just has, the most awesome euphoric feeling knowing that he is going into a place and sucking the soul out of Mark Stoops. That's what I think is going to happen. But I am saying what could happen is what we saw in week 3. Mark Stoops being chicken scared and not being willing to go for it on 4th down, instead trusting his defense to get that stop. That may happen. But I could also see what happens where it is the beatdown of all beatdowns. And Lane Kiffin has the opportunity to put in backups. Trinidad Shameless is warming up and he goes, no, son, let Simmons keep cooking. I want this thing burnt to a crisp. And that just is the case. They can hang 70 and I won't be shocked. They could win by a field goal and I won't be shocked.
Yeah,
I can't get a game on this game at
all. Double-digit point spread in this game. Ole Miss, the last I checked, a 10.5 point favorite via our friends at FanDuel. Bear, the best of the rest. Obviously, you and I have already previewed and predicted Arizona State, Mississippi State. Definitely excited for that one. There's an opportunity for Jeff Lebby and the boys. Big opportunity. Sam Leavitt, the Sun Devils coming to town. Still a good team. I think they're one of the Big 12's best, but hey, them cowbells get going, man. I mean, who knows? I know you and I both, again, to play spoiler, go check out the full preview prediction. We are going with the Sun Devils in the game, but hey, put them on upset alert. You talk about potential upsets in week 2. This has got to be one near the top of the radar.
It, to me, is going to be a game where we learn a lot more about Mississippi State's defense, but also, was their offense just a flash in the pan against Southern Miss? We got to see the run game in action. We got to see the vertical passing attack in action. We got to see 2 great receivers from the transfer portal add more validity to Jeff Lebby's personnel, which, again, is really good if you're Blake Shapen, because if you needed weapons outside of Kevin Coleman last year. You saw tight end, why am I blanking on his name? Seydou
Traore.
Traore, yeah.
Your favorite name in the SEC.
Seydou Traore had that big, what was it, like 58-yard touchdown. He won his one-on-one battle. And this is an Arizona State defense that at times last year, very pedestrian on the ground with the run defense. They were mid at best, I would say, in pass coverage. But again, you could get away with that in the Big 12. Can you get away with that with this offense that is going to feature a balanced run game and a couple of weapons? And honestly, again, Starkville is going to be rocking and rolling. The cowbells are going to lead to concerns and certainly a fair share of false starts and penalties. The problem is, can you avoid it being you on the penalized side? You had 16 penalties against Southern Miss's 10 last week. You allowed a conversion rate of over 60% on 3rd down. That doesn't always mean a conversion rate that comes through the air or on the ground with the players. A conversion rate can happen because of a penalty. Can you avoid shooting yourself in the foot? That is going to be, in my opinion, the biggest storyline of this game. If Mississippi State doesn't find a way to just have the self-inflicted wounds, I think this is going to be a 4-quarter battle. I really do.
Admittedly, Bear, again, excited to go to Norman. Wouldn't change a thing about it. Would have been a great weekend to go to Starkville. Not going to lie, because I know that Hail State fans are going to show out. The cowbells will be ringing. That's something too, Bear, on a side note. Any Mississippi State folks out there tuned in, I'm sure I could have done it at this point, but I need to get a cowbell for the studio. Need like a custom SEC Unfiltered cowbell, Mississippi State cowbell. We'll get that figured out at some point. Bear, the other non-conference games, I'm going to run through these really quickly, just what's featured on the docket. I think we fully expect every single one. And we will preview and predict these games, by the way, because that's what we do here. But we fully expect the SEC. It's more about just them getting work in, how they look. You fully expect all these teams to take care of business. A&M, Utah State, Georgia, Austin Peay, Tennessee, East Tennessee State, Arkansas State. That one's interesting because it's an interstate battle in Little Rock. This is the first time these two teams have ever met, and it's the final Little Rock game for Arkansas, Bear. And talking to folks down there, they are not shedding a tear.
Nobody's going to miss that game at all.
Nobody's going to miss that game.
Single person.
No. South Carolina State, LSU, Louisiana Tech, Auburn, Ball State, and we already mentioned Texas, San Jose State, and Alabama and ULM. Bear, any of those games I mentioned, do anything for you outside, of course, we already talked about what it means for Texas, for Alabama, then bouncing back. Any of those other games I mentioned do much of anything for you?
Best Bets is going to tell you one game. Best Bets. I'll leave that for Best Bets. Utah State versus Texas A&M is intriguing to me, not from the Utah State standpoint, but I do think that UTSA is going to be one of those sleeper rosters in the American and a G5 program that can compete for a college football playoff bid. There were some things I didn't like in the A&M game, especially on the offensive side when it came to running the football. There were things I didn't like on the defensive side by allowing a Robert Henry to average over 8 yards a play. Can you get back to showing me what is the version of Texas A&M that doesn't need 4 quarters to beat an opponent and still not cover the spread? That game is really interesting to me. I want to be able to see the rushing attack be able to prove going into a game against Notre Dame the following week that kind of veered away from the ground game. You can trust what is your bread and butter and actually deliver. Oh, and also let's just talk about Auburn. Hey, Auburn, shut me up and show me that the passing attack is there. Sorry. Again, just show me. You got the weaponry, and I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to crap on this team or say that they're a bad roster. They're a very good roster. But I just got to see the passing attack before I actually come to judgment. I just got to think that's a very fair ask.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Bear, too, from the standpoint. If you can't pass against Ball State, I don't know who you're going to get the passing game revved up for and going against. Georgia, final tune-up before they go to Rocky Top. I mean, they're not going to have any problem with Austin Peay, obviously, but continue to build that confidence, that momentum with Gunnar Stockton under center in the running game, that receiving core as well. I agree with you about Texas A&M cleaning some. I mean, listen, all these teams are going to be cleaning things up from week 1 to week 2. I fully expect it. How do some of these teams follow up some big wins? I mean, South Carolina's going to beat South Carolina State, but coming off an emotional win against Virginia Tech, short week for you, right? Yeah. You've got LSU coming off an extremely emotional win against Clemson. You're going to beat Louisiana Tech. I get that, but how do you follow up from that game? And I am intrigued, Bear, by Arkansas State. I don't really know what to think here. I expect Arkansas to win, but they're favored, I think, right now by like 22.5. I don't know. That's a pretty big spread. That's a pretty big spread for this game. I know Taylor Green put up video game numbers against Alabama A&M, and Arkansas State's not SEC, but they are a step up from Alabama A&M. Let's call it for what it is. The old Red Wolves when they face off again there in Little Rock. Sam Pittman even mentioning that Little Rock closer to Arkansas State than it is to Fayetteville. So who knows? Maybe they're going to
do some dirty things this year. He's going to make me say some very dirty things this year. I am not ready for what the internet is going to pull back up on what I've said about Taylor Green.
The game's intriguing if for no other reason than from what I've been told, like Arkansas has steered clear of playing games like this for whatever reason for the longest time. I think they just didn't feel like there was much benefit. And hey, what if we play them and we lose? If you win, you're just supposed to win. I'm glad a game like this is happening. Like, why not? We need to get more of these interstate battles with Arkansas and some of these other foes within their state. So there will be a lot of emotions in that one. There will be a lot of energy, especially. I mean, you got to think, Bear, Arkansas State's probably treating this like their Super Bowl. I mean, this is, hey, we got a chance to knock off the Hogs. There's probably a lot of kids on that roster, and I don't know whether it's you or I that's previewing this game, but there's a lot of kids on that roster that I'm sure wanted to go to Arkansas. Maybe they didn't get an offer or they were told they weren't good enough. It's always an interesting dynamic when you're in a game like that. So, again, a loaded slate. We've got a nice mix, obviously. We're still in, non-conference play, dominating the schedule. We do have an SEC game. We've got some headliner matchups. We've got some matchups teams looking to bounce back, and we've got some matchups where simply some teams looking to keep the good times rolling and beat up on somebody before what sets up in week 3, where we have even more SEC on SEC games. The schedule, guys, only going to heat up as we go week by week in this 2025 season. Bear, that being said, we've been talking about it a lot, different lines, the spreads. Let's lock in some best bets for week 2 presented to you by our friends over at FanDuel. And on that note, guys, I'm going to tell you quickly about our friends over at FanDuel before we get into each of our best bets. Obviously, guys, FanDuel's getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel's got you covered. The NFL season is almost here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to download the FanDuel app today and get started. That's FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it, Bear. I'll let you start. We'll go back and forth here. 5 best bets for us each. Obviously, these will be featured on social media as well. Bear, again, I'll let you start. Doesn't have to be your number one play, but the first one you want to unveil. What you taking?
Taylor Green is going to make me do some dirty things this year. Some very, very dirty things.
Here he goes. Here he goes.
Again, year 2 with Bobby Petrino, continuity in the offense against inferior opponents. Even though I do think Arkansas State may be a solid Sunbelt team, is going to hit. Death, taxes, QB year 2 with Bobby P at the helm. There's just something about it. 3 touchdowns in Little Rock for the last time. You heard Sam Pittman say this game is actually closer to Jonesboro than it is to Fayetteville. I think if the Hogs are going to travel well, I think if the offense is going to travel well, I think we're going to continue to see what we saw last week against Alabama A&M. And Taylor Green is going to be lighting up that stat sheet. 22.5 in favor of the Hogs, hammering that money line.
I think that'd be a really nice win for Arkansas if they cover that. I do. I'm not saying it's like, hey, lock in the Hogs winning 8+ games, but that'd be a nice momentum building win, I think, for sure. For sure. Taylor Green, like you said, going to make you do some outrageous things this year. Bear, my first one, I'm going to go Mizzou -6.5 against Kansas. I feel good about MIZ in this game. I think Bo Prabula showed me, and again, it was Central Arkansas, I get it, but showed us some things in the first game. Love his athleticism. I love the way he spins the football. I do think the offensive line, that's the biggest question. I think from week 1 to week 2, they're going to get better. I trust Corey Batoon on the defensive side to contain Jalen Daniels. There's going to be a lot of emotions in this game, obviously. But at the end of the day, I just don't see Missouri allowing Kansas to walk into Faurot Field and come out with a win. I think Mizzou wins this game. I think they win it by double digits. I think they cover 6.5. Give me MIZ -6.5 in the Border War.
Let's go down to Norman, Oklahoma, where this is going to be the game of the week. It's the SEC Unfiltered Tour game of the week. And as much as I do think Michigan improved offensively with Bryce Underwood, and I still like their defense with Wink Martindale running the show, I said this on the preview. I'll back it up here. Jayshon Barham, whether or not it was a legal hit or an illegal hit, the targeting penalty aside, is ridiculous. He should be active for this game. You should be better as an official to understand a roughing the passer versus a targeting call. But if it's not appealed, as much as I thought that when we watched the game without him, he was one of their best defensive players last season. Cole Sullivan did a good job filling in. He had a sack, he had an interception. It's a different beast going up against John Mateer. I think that's why Oklahoma is going to win this football game, because they're going to be able to jump out to an early lead. I think that Oklahoma, 6.5, now at 5.5, they're going to be able to cover. I'm taking Oklahoma with the points, -5.5, -6.5, whatever the line is at this point, whatever the line moves to. I think that they win by at least a touchdown.
Bear, I'm going to piggyback off you. I hate to sound like a broken record and sound like I'm copying you, but you and I are both going to that same exact pick. I have Oklahoma. I already locked in the bet this morning. I've got Oklahoma -6.5. Heck, I might throw another unit on -5.5 because, again, I feel good about it. I agree with you right there. I think John Mateer is going to go silly in this game. I respect the heck out of Michigan. I respect the heck out of what Michigan has defensively. But I like OU on the home field at night to get it done. Like you mentioned, we're bringing the good vibes with us to Norman. I think they win. I think they cover. And I think Brent Venables and company rattle a young quarterback, Bryce Underwood, to making a couple mistakes. And I don't think John Mateer makes those mistakes. Big test for their offensive line, but I think they'll hold up just well enough. I already locked in a 27-17 final score prediction in this one. So I like them -6.5. I like them -5.5. Vegas, you want to try me? Take it to 4.5. Maybe I'll throw another bet on it. I feel that good about the Sooners. You and I both are on that bet.
We both also think that Arizona State's going to win this football game. We both think that this is going to be a back-and-forth battle. And it's going to be high scoring. Like, I truly think that we're going to see Sam Levitt and Blake Shape and show on out, strut their stuff as QBs. A lot of passing attack downfield. So I'm hammering the over at 59.5 points. I think this is going to be a back and forth brawl. I got a final score of 38-31. 60 is at least going to be hung in this matchup. I have questions on both secondaries. I have questions on both pass rush. There's going to be an opportunity for anybody who wants to hammer the over. And by the way, death taxes and a Jeff Lebby offense always hammer the over with this defense on the opposing side with Coleman Hutzler. You should always take the over with the Bulldogs. I'm going minus 50. I'm going 59.5 points is easily going to be scored.
Bear, again, you and I are piggybacking off each other, but I'm going to go the same exact thing. I like State, Arizona State. I guess they're both states here. Mississippi State, Arizona State, over 59.5 until I see Mississippi State's defense show up in a big game like this and put together a competent performance. I just expect it to be high scoring. I think Jeff Lebby and company, they know they got to score. I trust that Fluff Bothwell, Devon Booth, Blake Shapen at quarterback, I think they'll be able to do that. This one's going to be fun. It's going to be a shootout down there in Starkville. I'm right there with you, over 59.5.
Let's go on over to Lexington. I was going to talk about this game. I see one of two scenarios happening. 13-12, final score. Ole Miss wins, but they win in a dogfight. Or the dark, trailing times of Lane Kiffin's thoughts prevail. Chris, I have a theory that Lane Kiffin is basically going to be standing on the sidelines looking at Charlie Wise Jr. and Pete Golding, kind of the way that Jordan Belfort looked at Jonah Hill when he said, "I will not die sober." Him saying, "I will beat the over single-handedly." I am taking the 10.5. I think Ole Miss is out for a statement. I think Lane Kiffin is going to release some demons in this game.
Definitely a revenge spot for the Rebels. Bear, I'm going to go to Blacksburg, Virginia here. Virginia Tech, Vandy. I think this one's going to be really intriguing. Maybe the most underrated game of the day, and it's probably going to get overshadowed by the game certainly in Norman because they kick off essentially at the same time. Give me the under 47.5 in this football game. I don't like what I saw from Virginia Tech offensively. I know you talked about their receiver core. Those guys are making plays. I don't trust Kyron Jones at all, and I should say, Clark Lee to put together a really good game plan against him in this football game. I'm thinking like a 24-20 kind of score, 23-20. If you want my prediction, well, you're going to have to wait until we get to the preview and the prediction actually video that will drop on Tuesday because I got to be honest with you, Bear. I keep going back and forth in this one. Vandy, all of a sudden, I think they opened as like a 4.5, 5.5 point dog. That thing's down to 1.5 now. People are betting on the doors. You ain't got to worry about which side wins, though, with this because I think the under will hit in this game. I think a lower scoring defensive flip pass. I still don't look at Vandy as like a really, and it's no disrespect, I just don't look at them as like a really explosive offense.
Sure.
You know, I don't think they're necessarily winning shootouts and outscoring people that way, but you know what you're getting out of Diego Pavia. He's a gamer. He's a baller. Eli Stowers at the tight end spot. Cedric Alexander, I think, a really underrated player at running back. A little bit lower scoring game. Give me under 47.5 in a game that I think is going to be really, really entertaining on Saturday night.
We're going to go outside of the SEC for my last game. I am somebody that loves to look at college football in general, and two teams that I think are very much underrated, and a win in this game is going to benefit them when it comes to their status as top 25 teams in the long haul. Let's go to Durham, North Carolina, and talk about Duke versus Illinois. Last week, the Illini and the Blue Devils combined to allow 20 points of offense between Western Illinois and Elon, and under 360 total yards of offense. That means that they don't give up a lot defensively. These are two stout units headlined by two coaches that know what their identity is, and that is physicality, forcefulness, and a little bit of finesse mixed on in. That means it's going to be a low-scoring affair out in Durham. I got mine at under 50.5 points. I think this is going to be a good game between Darian Mensah and Luke Altmaier. I think that Duke wins this football game. They get the top 15 upset of the weekend. But I do think this is going to be like a 23-20 final finish. It is not going to be a lot of points scored.
Bear, my final pick. I'm going to go to a game you just talked about just a few minutes ago. Give me Ole Miss minus 10.5 at Kentucky. You and I have got three of the same bets, 3 of the 5. Great minds think alike, I suppose, because I said it during the offseason. I'll say it again. And you know what? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if there's one game that Ole Miss is going to win, they're going to show up and they're going to play all 4 quarters and play their very best. I think it's this game at Kentucky. I really do. And I'm not listen, you beat Toledo. Congratulations. I picked you to beat Toledo. I know the Bear was taking the Rockets. I don't even think it was that bad of a pick. It's just how it worked out. But I'm still not a believer in the Cats. I'm still not a believer in what Mark Stoops and his football team are this season. And I think Ole Miss is underrated. I think Ole Miss is going to be a team that we're talking about in college football playoff contention. But again, Bear, even if that weren't the case, if there's one game they're going to win this season and they're going to come out, they're going to try to score 100. Like, I don't have any hesitancy with this pick at all. I think Ole Miss minus 10.5. If they can win this game by 50, they will win it by 50. And I just don't know how in the world Kentucky is going to keep up. This one, I think, going to be personal for the Rebels. I'm taking them. And if they don't cover, like I said, listen, whatever. But if I were to lose this bet, I'd rather lose this bet being on this side with the Rebels covering. I think they're the vastly superior team either way. Even if there wasn't revenge on the mind, I just think they're the better football team too. And I don't know how intimidating an atmosphere Lexington's really going to be on Saturday. So give me Ole Miss minus 10.5. Bear, on that note, I was looking back at week 1. You and I both had pretty good weeks. What did you go in week 1? 4-1, I think? Or did you go perfect in bets? Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the last game tonight.
Oh, that is right. TCU minus 3.5. Yes.
I am currently at 3-1. I only lost one game,
okay.
And it was the under yesterday.
Okay, the under in Notre Dame, Miami. Got you. So you're sitting at 3-1, your 5th pick tonight. So I went Auburn cashed. Bama certainly did not. 1-1, 2-1 because the under easily in Texas, Ohio State. Marshall plus 39.5 was my favorite win of the weekend. It was my favorite win of the weekend. They lose by 38. And then the over 57.5 LSU Clemson did not even. So the two I lost in just beautiful, unreal fashion. Like no dramatics. Didn't have to sweat those out at all. So a 3-2 start. You are at 3-1. So if you get a dub tonight, and by the way, side note, this isn't in my best bets. I took UNC money line. So
take them.
Yeah, Bear might have the lead on me after tonight. Looking to go 4-1. I'm sitting at 3-2. And for those watching on X, Facebook, YouTube, what have you, voila, Bear. Our best bets officially featured on screen. Bang. There you go. Look at that beautiful graphic. Shout out to our guy, Eric Reese, by the way. I want to give you guys the visual. Again, make sure you tail us. Hey, if you want to fade us, go right ahead. It's your funeral. We're just trying to help your bank account here. FanDuel.com/SECU. That's FanDuel.com/SECU to get started today. Get your bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Guys, we're going to be talking gambling all season long. We're going to be throwing bets around all season long. Make sure you're riding with us, myself, and Bear Thompson. Bear, before we get out of here, quick news and notes to get into. Really the only thing, I don't feel like there was a lot of news today because of it being Labor Day. Maybe that's not why, but I don't feel like there was a ton. We don't have an AP Top 25 to talk about, for example. All of that waiting until after the college football action's concluded with the game tonight. The one thing that did take place that sort of took the internet by storm, Kalen DeBoer took the podium. And I really want to give you the podium here because the takeaways from this press conference, and listen, I don't like to overreact to the press conferences, although I do think you can tell some things from the way guys handle questions and what they say. And listen, it's part of the gig, right? It's part of the job. It's our only channel to communicating with, from fan to media member to head coach and the football team and figuring out like what happened. It's your opportunity to express to us what happened. Bear, I want to get your thoughts on Kalen DeBoer today at the podium and what he had to say. There was a little bit, it felt like a little bit of fumbling over some of the words and fumbling over some of the answers. He even seemed still a little bit flustered from what took place on Saturday.
He knows that his job is on the line. He knows that there are people out there, regardless of if it happens this time at the end of the year or this time next year, he knows that he is in hot water. It's one thing to lose to a quality program, and it's one thing to lose to a team that ends up being really successful. It's another thing to be embarrassed because of the way that you acted and the way that you physically looked. But the part that I have a major issue with, and this is just internally, You said that you were prepared. You said that you had a good week of practice. You said that you had a good overall balance and an understanding of what this team was supposed to be. You did none of that. None of that on the field shows me that you had a good week of practice. So now I have to go back and question myself and say, what in your mind is a good week of practice? What in your mind is considered a favorable overall atmosphere? What do you consider to be a step in the right direction? Because if that's a good practice, that's the execution and the product you get on the field, nothing is good. Not a single thing. It's getting frustrating. And there's a part of me that also says you can't say too much and put all the blame on certain things. Sometimes you just don't have a good performance. It comes back. It ends up hurting you. You end up struggling. But also, this is Alabama. At Alabama, regardless of if the players are at fault, regardless of if the coaching staff is at fault, you're the face of the program. You are. Nick Saban, it didn't matter if he had a Heisman Trophy quarterback. It didn't matter if he had a Heisman Trophy running back. All-Americans in his defense. He was the face. He had to face the music. You had to take full responsibility. And it felt like that Kalen DeBoer was trying to do that without trying to do that. And that was the infuriating part. You're fumbling over it. You said that you had a good week of practice. I said that about last week? Yeah, you did. Oh, okay. Okay. Own it. I didn't prepare physically. I did not have this team ready. I did not do my part as a coach to put out a product that represents the University of Alabama. It just is frustrating when it comes to that. It just is. I'm sorry. And the worst part is that you have to now show it on the field that last week was a fluke. And it doesn't happen this week. It doesn't happen next week against Wisconsin. It happens going into Athens. And right now, this is a team that's going to lose by 3 scores. Minimum at this standpoint. This is an Alabama team that's not going to hold its own against Tennessee when they come to town. This will be the first time that Alabama has lost back-to-back games to Tennessee in over 2 decades, if that's the version we see. LSU's coming in and they're kicking your ass. That's 4 losses this season. You lose 3 more games. Kalen DeBoer, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I may believe in you. I may believe that you're a great coach. You're not lasting. 8-4 is not okay at Alabama. Never will be. And the crazy part is, at a place like Norman, Oklahoma, they say that 8-4 is not okay. They better be okay with paying that buyout. Alabama fans are crazy, and the boosters are even more sick. They'll find a way to be okay with paying that buyout. And then they'll find a way to provide whatever money it costs to land the coach that they think is going to be an upgrade and bring back that mentality. I don't know who that is. I genuinely don't. I know a lot of Alabama fans have said potentially you go after a guy like like Lane Kiffin. Lane is never getting the job at Alabama. He's never going to walk through the doors of Bryant-Denny Stadium, ever. It's not happening. I don't think that Matt Campbell, who's a name I heard recently being brought up, you just went out and got a guy who's not from the SEC. You were not getting a dude who's never coached in the SEC. Sark's not leaving Texas. If he goes anywhere, he's going to the NFL. I saw Glenn Schumann as a name being brought up. Glenn Schumann's an underwhelming hire in the eyes of the Alabama fans. Doesn't matter if they have great defense or not. It's an underwhelming hire. But they'll find somebody who is going to be good enough to get this job. They will find somebody that is meant to be the next head coach at Alabama. They will not waste time. Kalen DeBoer, that hot seat is started. The clock is ticking. And that press conference did not make it any better.
No, it did not, Bear. And it's tough because, with these pressers, I don't know what he really could have come out and said that was going to make anything better. But he definitely didn't make it better. If anything, I don't know if he made it worse because I don't know that it can get worse, but he did not make it better. We'll just leave it that way. The way he was fumbling over some of the stuff. And it's like, you'd like your guy to come out there, present a strong, unified front. Like, hey, listen, we're going to be fine. That was a one-off. That's a blip on the radar. Like, we've got this. We're together. I don't know that he really did that, So, you don't want to overreact to a press conference because you don't win games. I mean, hey, look at SEC Media Days, right? You don't win games at the presser. You don't win games at the podium, but you can lose a fan base at the podium. That's for sure. You absolutely can. Fans get irritated. They get ticked off. Like, that's your channel to talk to them. You better use it wisely and use it to your advantage. But anyways, Alabama's got to go win a football game on the field. They got to go play the right way. Nothing Kalen DeBoer, Kane Womack, Ryan Grubb, nothing they say is really going to change that. So
now, I will say the end of his answers talking about this isn't a learning experience anymore. It's the right thing to say. He gets that last season was inexcusable because he also knows what is the expectation at Alabama. The problem is that you have to make sure that the players know what the expectation is at Alabama. And that's where it gets really challenging. Because if you may end up being a really good coach, Kalen DeBoer may end up winning a national title. Not at Alabama, but somewhere else. I think he's that good. You don't go 8-4 and survive. You just don't. But credit where credit's due for the fact of he said enough to, I think, at least get how disappointing he is in himself. But you got to say more. You got to say more, and you got to be more direct. And also, you have to take the whole accountability. Whether or not it's fair on you, you have to take the full accountability. Nobody else can.
Well put, Bear. Well put. Guys, it's going to do all for us. We're going to go ahead and get out of here, put a bow on it. We will be back on Thursday, as we always are, for Week 2 Pick'em. We'll lock in all of our picks. Obviously, take your questions and your comments as well, and get you guys feedback on who you're picking going into Week 2. It's going to be an electric weekend. Obviously, again, we will be in Norman, Oklahoma for the SEC Unfiltered Crew, but so many games across the landscape that we cannot wait to break down, to predict, to dissect, everything in between. And again, we appreciate all of you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Like I mentioned, this is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered's SEC Football Show, the best SEC football show on the internet. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Kalen DeBoer Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you all on Thursday night. Cheers.